What I mean by successful is the picture that somebody else paints for success for you. So someone says, here's what success means for you, because the capacity of a human being is unlimited. Guess what? You achieve that success. But then you achieve that success, but something doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel as if you're on your purpose, or it's something that fulfills you, if you will, in addition to the success. So successful is when on the outside you get all the pats on the back and the well dones and the high fives, and guess what? You're actually getting amazing results as well. Whether it's revenue for your business, whether it's results for the team, whether it's overachieving those results for your team. Successful is when there's not a fulfillment attached to the success.
Hey, Uncommon Leaders, welcome back. This is the Uncommon Leader Podcast. I'm your host, John Gallagher. Today, we're welcoming back Mo Salami. Now, sometimes when you have a guest on, you want to really kind of think about the last thing they talked about was really good, and you might want to have them back. Mo and I have been connected for the last couple of years, and as I've watched his journey continue to grow as a coach and as a leader, I just thought it was something that we had to have him back on the show to talk about what he's got going on. So he's not here to talk about necessarily vision or charisma, which are some of the traits of leaderships, but ultimately he's talking about how a leader executes and succeeds to exceed exceptional results and not just good results. And what I like about what he's talking about here, and I think it's really challenging, is that to get exceptional results, you shouldn't focus on the results. I can't wait to talk to him about that. We're going to step into the craft of leadership and what's that really mean? And ultimately, what's the big thing separating great leaders from the rest? So Mo Salami, welcome back to the Uncommon Leader Podcast. Great to have you on the show again. Second time, let's keep working on this. Maybe we'll get you to a 5-timer as well, the Saturday night skit, and we'll earn you a robe here. But for the second time, how you been, man? It's been a while since I've had you on the show.
And the second time is a charm. I am so honored to be on the show. And I just want to say hello to all of the Uncommon Leaders listening today. And we're going to be in for an amazing episode. So strap up. It's going to be awesome.
I believe that we're in for a masterclass, no doubt about it. And let's just jump right into the content. And then we're going to get into a little bit about where you've been on your journey the last couple of years, Mo. But you've shifted the conversation just a little bit in terms of leadership and how they are successful, ultimately to the mindset of being successful. So over the past few years, what has changed for you and your clients in leadership that have led you to this framework that we're going to talk about today?
I guess what has changed is the refinement. I thought, how do we refine getting exceptional results and being the best version of a leader that you can be and getting the best results that you can get? That led to a refinement into a 3-step pathway of really working on your mindset. Or if we don't, I'm about to tell you now, as we know, mindset is 80% of the game, 90% of the result you want. And then really working on your skill set. What I mean by skill set is being that best version of the leader that you can be, being the best version of the C-suite leader that you can be, or the sales leader, or the entrepreneur, or the business owner, being that, and really refining the value that you give to your clients. That's what I mean by skill set. And if you have a really great mindset dialed in, you really have a really great skill set dialed in, the next step is momentum, really having that daily show up momentum, because that's where the game is won and lost. And I sort of put brackets around momentum by saying, always move in the direction of the results you want before you see the results you want.
Love that. I love the word momentum as we think about it from a leadership point. And that's not a word that's discussed a lot. I talk about, especially in sports, when you get the momentum, it's important to keep the gas down. That's a little bit what I hear in terms of that discipline is keep going, because if you slow it down and lose that momentum, it's hard to get it started back up again. So mindset, skill set, and momentum. Let's put a pin in those 3 words. We're going to come back to those. But first, look, the uncommon leader is focused on development of self. Mo, what have you been doing in the last few years to continue to develop your own leadership skills so that you can show up the best as you can as an executive coach and a strategist to help leaders achieve their potential?
What I've been doing is walking the walk. So on the one hand, helping my clients, if you will, get their results, that they're looking for, and specifically getting their results by not focusing on the results. And then what I've been doing is walking the talk. If I'm saying to you to always be prepared, to really dial that in for, really great preparation, or if I'm saying to always show up daily on a daily basis, literally walking that talk myself. That's what I've been doing on my end, just really focusing on that. And the other part I want to mention to your leaders is I've sort of elevated the intention. So the intention could be, I want these great results and leadership skills, if you will, and even results for the team. And I've elevated the conversation to what would happen if we were the best in the world. And the outcome isn't necessarily to be literally the best in the, 7 billion, I think it is 8 billion people in the world. It could be if that's what it is you want to, but it's sort of putting that intention out there. What would it look like if we were the best, our team, if we performed at our maximum? If we were experts, and if we set the intention to be experts or add the maximal value, all of a sudden it leads to exponential results for our team. And I guess that's where I've always been. And then I've just gone deeper with that and working deeper with teams. And in terms of how I've worked deeper, it's, even more with keynotes. I just released the podcast as well, and just continuing to serve at the highest level, the best I can.
I can't wait to talk about your podcast as well in terms of why you started that now and what that's going to look like. The Purpose-Driven Success podcast can be pretty cool. Hey, let's talk about this then. So if I'm going to achieve exceptional results, I don't need to focus on the results. Okay, so what do I need to focus on, Mo, if I'm not focused on the results, if I'm going to achieve exceptional, if I'm going to achieve being the greatest as I've defined it as a leader?
So the first thing to focus on as a leader is not the result. So the first thing to focus on is your identity as a leader. Because the moment you say, oh, there's this result we want, and there's a result that our team wants, all of the focus is on the result. Whereas the focus shift needs to be a lot on the steps towards the result, and specifically enjoying the journey to the result with the expectation of a result on the other end. And how do we foster that expectation? Well, you move from having the result as a task, I need to show up, to switching it out to an identity, asking yourself that question as a leader. Who do I need to be? What type of person do I need to become to get this result? How do I show up? If I'm the type of person that gets this result as normal, how do I show up? And then really stepping into that as a leader. And of course, if you're able to step into that as a leader, it does amazing things for your team, because when they see what you're doing, stepping into your identity piece of this is who I am, it becomes this is who we are as a team. We're the kind of team that gets us exceptional results. And you'll find that, your team, they broaden their shoulders to become also to switch it from, I need to make that call every day, to I'm the type of person that makes the call. So it's natural. I do 50 of them a day, versus wondering when will I start the first one at midday or something?
No, I love that from an identity standpoint, from a mindset standpoint. You're exactly right. Look, here's some of the things that I hear. I had a guy ringing in my ear as you said this, not literally, but in my mind, Dustin Rothling-Schofer, who's been an influence on my life the last couple of years on my health, ultimately saying it's those disciplines, both in the mindset of spiritual, mental, physical, and emotional, that we do on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis that ultimately lead us to the outcomes. And if we do those things in those 4 areas, the outcomes themselves, back to your point about exceptional results, are inevitable. They're going to occur. Right. Your point is spot on, especially on that emotional and spiritual side mindset of, I am healthy. Okay. I am a great leader. I am a high performer, and having that identity of yourself. And again, if you started as a leader, that will bleed down into your team as you develop them and work with them to identify their own personal mindsets as well. So in your coaching with individuals, as you take them there, what do you think are the top 1 or 2 things that are keeping them from having that mindset that they need? What are they running into?
They're running into 2 things. So the first one, I guess it's kind of 2.5 things. So let's prep it like this. So the first point is they're already tend to be high achievers. And because we are who we are, a lot of times we don't realize our own brilliance. So what tends to happen is two things. Number one is inaction, and the second one is inconsistent action. The inaction piece is the whole mindset piece of, am I good enough? The imposter syndrome. Am I the type of person that can get these results? And you kind of hit the pause button, and you waiting to hit the pause button again when all the traffic lights turn green, or you get permission from somewhere that, by the way, you are good enough, and get that constant coaxing. So that first one is just like a paralysis of inaction and waiting for that moment, which never comes. The traffic lights aren't always green. And then the second piece is inconsistent action. Having that sort of enthusiasm. You've got the strategies laid out in front of you. Here's the task, and by the way, here's the team before that achieved the task, or an example. And then you sort of start with this enthusiasm for the result, and then the moment there's a setback, there's that pause button again. So those are the two things I've seen, like an inaction initially and an inconsistent action, and both of them lead to the pause button. And it's because there's a mindset, if you will, that get to the result. As an uncommon leader, a lot of times we're going for a result that has a pressure behind it, right? And a lot of times we think to get to the result is this big scary object in the future, 3 months down the line. Whereas to get to the result, win today, like win your reps that you're doing for today, win the reps that you're doing for tomorrow at the level that you can. I always say, do the best you can consistently. Consistently could mean, the best you can consistently could mean 50% today. It could mean 80% tomorrow. It could be, I'm trying to be positive here, 95% the day after. Whatever that means, that it's not so much about that having that blast of, yes, I had 120% day just one time. Mm-hmm. It's about doing the best you can consistently in the direction of the results that you and your team want.
Mo, I've heard two things recently that, again, remind me of what you just said. The never take a zero. To your point, even let's put it in health for a little while as an uncommon leader, trying to get 10,000 steps a day as a goal, as an outcome, right? And so, but, we get to the end of the day and, we're tired and we look at our Fitbit or our watches and we only got 2,000 steps in. Okay. And so the natural tendency is, well, I might as well not do anything else today because I'm not going to get to 10,000. But what I hear you saying is, no. Get those 10 minutes in and get it to 3,000. You're not going to take a zero for what you did from an action standpoint. And the other side then in the consistency side is never miss 2 days in a row. So what do you have to do tomorrow to get to 10,000? Take your low number today, learn from it, and then what do you got to do tomorrow? You never want to go 2 days in a row without meeting those disciplines, or that can result in lost momentum. We solve problems, and anything worth doing is uphill, no doubt about it. Once we stop rolling that ball up the hill, that's when it gets tougher, right? And then we find ourselves getting really difficult to get started again and get it going. So we got to keep that momentum, keep that consistent action on a regular basis. So I love that. Hey, and then the other side, I'm going to go into Moism. You said things I like to say. One of the things you talk about in this, and one of the things I believe gets in our way, is the perceived effort to get there. And you say that it's not about being successful necessarily, about stressful. You made that word up. You said you made that word up, Mo. What is that word, stressful, and what do you mean from that?
So what I mean by stressful is the picture that somebody else paints for success for you. So someone says, here's what success means for you, because the capacity of a human being is unlimited. Guess what? You achieve that success. But then you achieve that success, but something doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel as if you're on your purpose, or it's something that fulfills you, if you will, in addition to the success. So stressful is when on the outside, you get all the pats on the back and the well dones and the high fives. And guess what? You're actually getting amazing results as well. Whether it's revenue for your business, whether it's results for the team, whether it's overachieving those results for your team. Stressful is when there's not a fulfillment attached to the success. So sometimes, and as John, as you rightly said, I have a few Moisms, quotes by Mo. Mm-hmm. And one of them is that sometimes we think that we're successful, but what's really going on is stressful.
Hey, uncommon leaders. Hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I believe in doing business with people you like and trust and not just a company name. That's why a strong personal brand is essential, whether you're an entrepreneur or a leader within a company. Brand Builders Group, the folks who have been helping me refine my own personal brand, are offering a free consultation call with one of their expert brand strategists. They'll help you identify your uniqueness, craft a compelling story, and develop a step-by-step plan to elevate your impact. So head on over to coachjohngallagher.com/BBG, as in Brand Builders Group, to schedule your free call and take the first step toward building a personal brand that gets you noticed for all the right reasons. That's coachjohngallagher.com/BBG. Now, let's get back to the episode. So good. I mean, and to your point, if there's not a meaning behind that, then your definition of success may be a little bit off. The traditional definition of success, no doubt about it, might be in winning and, again, hitting our revenue targets or our phone call targets, as you said before. But the true purpose behind that uncommon leader is the impact that we're having on those around us, helping others to grow on our team, having an impact on our family, on our communities, ultimately leading to, for me, from a Man of Faith standpoint, eternal impact, and that it lasts for generations to come. We start to define success in that space. John Maxwell would say success is having those around me respect and love me the most. What a phenomenal definition of success in terms of understanding what that is. And it's not really anything that is about how many cars I have in the garage or how big my house is or anything like that. It's about love that really shows up inside of that. So I love that. I love that Moism, if you will. And I'm sure you got many more that you might be able to bring out. So if it's identity over results, consistency over results, and resilient mindset over results, what's a habit or discipline you might take a leader who's trying to get there, not focus on the results early on in their journey when you're coaching them to help them get better?
Right. So just before I answer that, what's the habit that the coach or leader would need? I just want to comment on what you just said there, John, as well, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the conversation we're having. So, I mean, asking too many questions.
You mentioned a goosebumpy word. I've never used the word goosebumpy, but apparently I need to use it right now, which was eternal. Was it eternal success or eternal
impact?
Eternal impact. Just think about what John just said just there. Eternal impact. Now, the very fact you're listening to this podcast means on some level, you're looking for eternal impact. If you're going to achieve that, John, you just mentioned the 50 phone calls a day or overachieving the results and the $1 million revenue for the year, all of that great stuff. Now, this does not equal eternal impact. If eternal impact is a circle, this is a part of the circle and probably a smaller part of the circle. And these are impactful and important, but these aren't the circle. These are part of the circle. Now, for us to achieve the circle, we need you. We need you to be well and healthy and as well as wealthy in mind, body, and spirit, getting lots of sleep, looking after yourself, getting your 10,000 steps in, we mentioned before, all of that great stuff. So we need not just the results that you're here to get as a leader, we also need the result of you having yourself as well, your loved ones, all that great stuff that are outside the circle of just that result. And I'd go as far as to say that eternal impact equals the big results, the pressure-filled results we're going for, in addition to the big results of the fulfillment and looking after ourselves that we're going for as well. And that gives you the best chance for a longevity of eternal impact, because without the best version of you, those results will still happen, but it'll probably be someone else that, in your place to get them if you get wiped out or burnt or burn out, if you will. I just wanted to
your point, back to SUC-stressful again, right? That picture of success turns into SUC-stress. As we're talking about, you're exactly right. And I cannot remember like me who's this quote is attributed to, but you think about that impact. People won't remember what you said. They will remember what you did in terms of your results. They'll remember how you made them feel. That's that eternal impact in terms of understanding how you made them feel. Usually, this discussion, since we last chatted in 2023, and this is not something we talked about even before we hit the record button, one of the things, especially in a leader's life, that's impacting us and could be impacting our identity and could be impacting our disciplines is AI. So how are you seeing AI used effectively, maybe how you use it to help you do your work, but also how it can be a hindrance to our success as well?
So I have an amazing friend called Julie who speaks on this very topic. And I like her perspective on this, which is that, well, I'll preface it with my perspective, which is that AI is like anything, that it can be a tool that helps, or it can be a tool that hinders. And when I think of AI, Gemini, ChatGPT, all that great stuff, it reminds me of, I'll say concept. I think there's a book out about it, but I've not read the book, but I'm aware of the concept. It reminds me of that concept of having a second brain, where it's just that it's that other perspective in addition with you. So that's not necessarily a bad thing if you have that second brain helping out. And pre-AI, probably pre the internet, it will be that one, as in yourself, plus one, as in someone else, equals 11. Because there's your thoughts, concepts, experiences, their thoughts, concepts, experiences, and then 1 plus 1 doesn't equal 2 because you're both coming from this value-driven place. 1 plus 1 equals 11. AI means 1 plus 1 equals probably 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, whatever that number is, right? If used properly. I think if used properly, here's how to, not use it properly, just rely on it. Instead of a second brain, have it, I really don't want to say no brain here, but
the brain though, the only brain, right?
The only brain. It's a no-brainer to not have AI as the only brain, as opposed to a second brain. Let's do some brain mind twisters there. The best way to use it is the way that my friend Julie says, I think, which is, and I guess she thinks, she said it, right, which is to use it as a companion for your thoughts, that second brain. And then after that, you've got that layer of AI as that companion for your thoughts and, your leadership. And then after you've done that, you leave the companion aside and then you take over now. And then you fully use the capacity of a human being is unlimited. I said it all the time, and not just I said it, it's a fact. So then you've gotten a really great, not 1 plus 1 equals 11, but 1 plus 1 equals 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 foundation. And then put AI aside. And then now you take over and use your brilliance, your expertise, your amazingness, and trust in it. Why is that? Because you've gotten amazing results in the past and you're actually amazing. So you take over from there. And then guess what? If you need to have AI as a polish on the top when you finish the project to analyze it, there you go. So I think that's a great way to use AI. The no-brainer is to use it as a second brain, and don't use it as just the only brain that replaces your brain, because you're amazing. You have an amazing brain. There you go.
Absolutely. Mo, I love that. I mean, in terms of understanding that it, as a thought partner, as one who sits there beside you on that journey. And I know that's how I've used it in some of the things that I'm working on. With mindset, skill set, and momentum running well, okay? How does that show up for the leader? What does it feel like? What is the feeling of that?
For the leader, how it shows up eventually and at the minute is with exponential results. That's how it shows up. I'm going to talk about how you show up as a leader in a sec, but how it shows up is exponential results for the result that you're looking for, and the result you're not focused on. We're focused on the pathway to the result, and also for your team as well, because it grows your team in terms of a collective that sort of has the upward spike for the results you want to get, because they see the way that you're showing up, your identity piece, and they get like a confidence and a calmness from that as well. And ultimately, we want to get to the exponential results. As a leader, what's really, really important is showing up. We just mentioned it, showing up every single day. Another Moism, do the best you can consistently. But let's move the Moism aside for a minute. And that showing up every single day and having that 1% consistency compounds. And let's say there's a result you want, and I'm going to use the analogy of $100 in a sec, but let's say there's a result you want. Let's go sales team, for example, and you iterate in the different parts of how you show up as a sales team. We're making 50 calls versus 5, working on the follow-up, working on all the different aspects of things like closing, or how you offer value, and frankly, how you decide that, this partnership's not for us, yourself and the client, like iterating that 1% in the space of a year, 365 days, 366 on a leap year, that equals a 37 times exponential result. Let's make that real with an example.
Number again, in 365 days, a 37x.
7x. Let's go big, say let's go small, then go big. Let's say $100, 37x would be $3,778 at the end of the year. It's kind of 3,888 because you add the original 100, but you go from $100 to $3,778 if you increase by 3,778%, which is what 37x means. I know these are a lot of numbers. Just rewind and write them down. All good. Yeah. Now, let's say you went big last year and got to the $1 million in revenue, for example. And then during the year, you asked yourself, how can I iterate 1%? How can we analyze and iterate everything we're doing 1% every single day? By the end of the year, 37x is $37 million, $37,780,000. So almost $38 million. So from $1 million showing up 1% every single day compounds in that way 37 times or 3,778%. I said a lot of numbers there, but the point is that daily showing up compounds. And guess what we didn't do when we were showing up every day? We didn't focus on the fact that we wanted $3,778 from our original 100, to use the analogy, stay with me here. Or we focused on doing the best we could consistently every single day, showing up. Because what happens is the days that you could only do the, let's go 100 steps, and there are days that you did the 10,000 steps, and there are days that you did 4,000 steps, all of that, supposing that your intention is to, do the best you can consistently, all of that levels out to a consistent 1% improvement every single day. And then all of a sudden you get to the 3,778% better result for yourself and for your team. So that's where the game is won and lost. That really showing up. How do we show up every single day? I just mentioned about, having to wake up and thinking, oh my God, I've got to do 10,000 steps. The way that you show up every single day is what we just mentioned at the top of the call. You don't look at it as a task. Every single Thursday I need to do, or every single day I need to do 10,000 steps. You switch it to, how do I become, what would it look like if I were the type of person who does 10,000 steps every single day? What time would I go to sleep? How would I hydrate myself? How would I prep? What warm-up exercises would I do? Do I buy a Fitbit? Do I get a pedometer? Do I craft a little bit of time in my 1 hour lunch break? I make sure I have one to walk for a few minutes. Do I position my desk or my office so it's a little bits away? It's like I have to go up the stairs and all the way across. What type of person, what's the identity I step into to become the type of person that does 10,000 steps, insert the result you're looking for each day? And the other part of it is not as a chore. We're trying to be successful. We're not trying to be stressful here. We're trying to be fulfilled. So, but as something you love, like how can you make it enjoyable in addition to the fact that you want the result? Yeah, it's all that mindset piece. And then so we've just literally discussed mindset, skill set, all in one there of just, and also momentum, just showing up. So it's all of those.
Absolutely. Mo, I love this conversation. Just kind of honor your time and think how things are going. You're converting some of these thoughts that you've been on a lot of episodes. You've been an executive coach. You've been a strategist for high performing leaders. And now you're bringing your voice out on the other side of the microphone with your own podcast, A Purpose Driven Success. So what made you start the podcast, and tell our listeners where they can find it and what it's going to be about?
Absolutely. So, and thanks for that, John. Really grateful for the time to discuss this briefly. So my podcast is Purpose Driven Success by Mo Salami. And guess what? I'm Mo Salami. That's me. And Purpose Driven Success is where you get to when you work on your mindset, work on your skill set, and work on that momentum on that consistent basis. That's what gets you to not just success and not just stressful, but success on your terms. Purpose-driven success is about success on your terms. And it would be wild if all I spoke about on the podcast was my version of purpose-driven success. And I've coached tons of high achievers. If you go to mosalami.com, all the information's there about that. And it would be wild if Purpose-driven success podcast was just myself talking about it. So because the podcast is for you, it's for me, and I have a ton of really amazing minds. Let's say it again. That will come on and discuss how they achieve success, how they shifted from stressful to successful, and also their journey to purpose-driven success as well. So you'll hear all those perspectives, and the idea behind it is that it helps you find your place. It helps you find your version of purpose-driven success, given all the different examples, all the different strategies, all the different takeaways, all the different value that you'll get from the podcast. So that's what the podcast is all about. Just launched recently, and so glad it's finally out there. Please go give it a listen.
Yeah, I'm pretty jazzed up about what is coming. I've listened to the first couple episodes as we record this one. By the time we get this out, you'll have many more episodes that are out there. So we'll be sure to put a link to your podcast in there as well as your website in the show notes so folks can get out there and listen to it. And I can't wait to hear some of the Moisms that you're going to bring out on this podcast and the guests and the other minds, plural, that you're going to be bringing on. And like you said before, I certainly would love to be one of those conversations and make that happen. I think that would be really, really cool. Mo, I want to ask you kind of the last question to give you this last voice here. And I love the headline, Purpose-Driven Success. Okay. And maybe that's the title of your book one day as well. I don't know. We've kind of been down that journey. But for our listeners and for you, what's the subtitle of Purpose-Driven Success? What's underneath of that for you, the message that you want to give our readers and send them off with today and call them to action?
So, hi, leaders. Again, thank you for still being here. The subtitle here, so the title is, the title is Purpose-Driven Success in general, but the below that title are those pieces: mindset, skill set, and momentum. And it means amazing things for pretty much everyone. And it means another level for you as a leader, because you have a different responsibility. You're leading your team, you're leading your family, you're leading yourself. So for yourself as a leader, these pieces have a whole nother level. Let's do that. Let's just say that. And what it means for you as a leader is stepping into that identity piece. Who's the type of person who achieves these results? And once you step into that identity piece, peeking from behind their hands are your family. I'm thinking, kids here and loved ones, your team, and even yourself, you leading yourself. And then what happens then is, because that's just who you are, and that's your energy, and that's your identity is the word I wanted to say, even moving forward, all of a sudden, they take notice. Your team takes notice. Your loved ones and the ones who love you back take notice. Who you love you back, they take notice. And all of a sudden, their level raises as well. And all of a sudden, leader, you give them a chance. You give them a chance to go from successful to stressful, all because you're showing up as the leader that you should be.
Love that. Mo, before we hit the record button, we said we wanted to have a great conversation. And, as I look at this and the conversation that we've had, I do believe we've gone to the extraordinary side in terms of what that conversation was. It's been 3 years. Let's not let it be that long until we have you back on again, because I know that you continue to grow. I appreciate you investing your time with the listeners of the Uncommon Leader podcast. I wish you the best with the podcast coming out, and that it has the extraordinary results that you're looking for, the impact that you want to create through the skill set, the momentum, and the mindset that you're going to add to it. So thank you so much for being on.
Uncommon Leaders, I just want to say one more time, hello. Thank you for having me here today. John, it is such an honor to be here on the pod again. And Uncommon Leaders, grab a pen. So I'm just going to leave you with a Moism, which is this: always move in the direction of the result you want before you see the result you want. Thank you.
Thank you, Mo.
All the best. Ciao. Bye-bye.
Hey, Uncommon Leaders, what a great conversation that was. Mo Salami always brings it. I've appreciated the relationship I've had with him, and I know that you enjoyed it as well. Hey, do me a favor. Give us a 5-star review on the platform that you listen to. That's going to be a way that we get it in the hands of more listeners to hear this podcast. And if you have any interest in chatting about some of the things that we talk about on the podcast, I'd love to have a conversation with you. Go out to my website, coachjohngallagher.com, and click that button to request a call. Love to have a 30-minute conversation with you. Talk about those things that you're challenged with right now and what you might be able to do to become the uncommon leader you want to be. Until next time, go and grow champions.